explain kind of what the scene is like around here. So, Jessica.
There are no words that can capture the horror and the evil of this unspeakable act. Children are dead. There are families that have a deceased child. You cannot put into words the gravity, the tragedy, or the absolute pain of this situation. We are a Minneapolis family. But to everybody out there, do not think of these as just somebody else's kids. Those families are suffering immense pain right now. Think of this as if it were your own. Every one of us needs to be wrapping our arms around these families, giving them every ounce that we can muster. These were Minneapolis families. These were American families. And the amount of pain that they are suffering right now is extraordinary. And don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church. These are kids that should be learning with their friends. They should be playing on the playground. They should be able to go to school or church in peace without the fear or risk of violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance. These are the sort of basic assurances that every family should have, every step of the day, regardless of where they are in our country. I'm so deeply saddened, and I'm so sorry to the families that I know are suffering right now. My ask is to everyone, stand by them. Love them. These families have forever been changed, and we've all been changed with them. We need to do everything possible to support them through this time. We have a family resource center that has been set up. I'm grateful for all of the law enforcement agencies from a number of different jurisdictions, all the different departmental support that we've received. They're going to be working tirelessly. There's also a family resource center that is being set up as we speak to make sure that we're there for everybody. Again, to the families that are suffering, to those that have experienced loss, I'm so deeply sorry. We're going to be with you every step of the way. We love you. This kind of act of evil should never happen, and it happens far too often. The chief will provide additional details.
My name is Brian O'Hara, B-R-I-A-N, O''H-A-R-A. I am the Minneapolis Police Chief. Earlier today, just before 8:30 a.m., our city experienced an unthinkable tragedy. Minneapolis police officers responded to a report of a shooting at a mass that was happening at the Annunciation Roman Catholic Church on the block behind me. This worship service was marking the first week of school for children that are attending the Annunciation Catholic School. During the mass, a gunman approached on the outside on the side of the building and began firing a rifle through the church windows towards the children sitting in the pews at the mass. Shooting through the windows, he struck children and worshipers that were inside the building. The shooter was armed with a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol. This was a deliberate act of violence against innocent children and other people worshiping. The sheer cruelty and cowardice of firing into a church full of children is absolutely incomprehensible. Police officers from the Minneapolis Police Department immediately responded, entered the church, and attempted to provide first aid and rescue some of the children that were hiding throughout the building, while other first responders came and EMS responded to rush victims to nearby hospitals. 2 young children, ages 8 and 10, were killed where they sat in the pews. Their parents have been notified. 17 other people were injured, 14 of them being children. 2 of those children are in critical condition. The coward who fired these shots ultimately took his own life in the rear of the church. Our hearts are broken for the families who have lost their children, for these young lives that are now fighting to recover, and for our entire community that has been so deeply traumatized by this senseless attack. We will stand together to protect our children, our schools, and our houses of worship. This deliberate act of violence is just a sign of cruelty that is beyond comprehension. Our hearts are broken for everyone that's been affected by this tragedy. As we begin the difficult path of healing, I want the community to know this, that even in the face of such evil, the Minneapolis Police Department and all of our law enforcement partners stand with our community. We stand with these families and with this parish. We will continue to be here for you. With that, the investigation is obviously in its preliminary stages, and I will attempt to take some questions to provide further information.
Chief, what can you tell us about the suspect in this case? How old was he? Any kind of motivation? Any notes or any other information?
So we were looking, the question was, what can be said about the shooter? We believe it is one suspect, a sole shooter. We believe he is deceased. He is in his early 20s, does not have an extensive known criminal history, and we are looking through information left behind to try and determine some type of motive. Yeah. How many children? There were, I don't have an exact, the question was how many children at the school? There were dozens of children inside the mass at the time. I don't have an exact count. The children have been relocated into the school, which is where their families are reunifying with them. Reg. The question was, do we know if the student was, if the shooter was a former school employee or a former student? We don't have that information. There's a vehicle. The question was anything left behind? There's a vehicle that we believe that the suspect used that is being searched, and we will be conducting other searches related to this. Inside the parking lot here. Yep. Yep. So the question was, neighbors had said that the door to the church had been barricaded. The shooter approached on one side of the church building, and on that side, at least 2 doors, it appears there had been like a 2x4 placed. So not all of the doors around the building, but on the side where the shooter did fire. On the outside, yes. The question was there any explosives? There were reports of that. There were no explosives or improvised devices that we found. I do believe there was one, I guess you would call it a smoke bomb, like not an explosive, but a sort of a firework that would release smoke. The side that is closest to us here, on this side, yep. I don't have specific information on that I can release. The question was, is he dead from a gunshot wound? The answer is yes. We believe he took his own life in the parking lot. The question was he shooting outside and inside? He was absolutely shooting outside of the building on the side of the church, inside through the windows. It appears he may have gone inside, but I don't believe we've located any casings inside the building. So I'm not certain if he fired also while inside. It appears, if not all, most of the shooting happened outside the building. So Yeah, Taylor's asking, is this related to any of the other shootings? This does not appear to be related to any other shooting in the city. The question was how many rounds? I would say it's in the dozens. We don't have an exact count. There's a sidewalk on the outside as well as a grassy area. So obviously we are going through and taking our time to process the scene. The question was he firing one weapon? We believe he had fired all three. He had a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol. Were the weapons, was he lawfully carrying the weapons? I don't have that information. And I don't have any information on any significant criminal history either. It appeared he had some black clothing on, his cargo type pants. I guess you could interpret that as, you know, however you like.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for helping us to get the information out today. We have a lot more work that needs to be done. We will return back later today to provide more details as they become available, and we'll let you know how you can know about that in the moments to come. Thank you. Okay. How can the public help?
That's it. Thank you.
Amazing. The chief was ready to ask more questions. This sergeant, this guy would, hold on a second. The guy with the sergeant stripes walked over and stopped the chief from taking any more questions. And I found that to be kind of odd and off-putting here because it looked like the chief was more than willing to answer more questions, and he abruptly stopped him. We know a lot more information now. It was a single shooter in his early 20s with no criminal history. So they have a lot of data on this guy. He fired all three of the weapons, a rifle, shotgun, and pistol, from the outside of the church. So he was even more of a coward. He shot these innocent children and other victims through the windows of this church, according to the police chief. He shot all or most of the rounds from the outside. He probably fired that one fatal shot at the rear of the church when he entered the building. But it appears that he fired the rifle, the shotgun, and also a pistol. Dozens and dozens of rounds when the chief was asked. 8 children, it says 8, a total of 17 others injured, 2 children killed. I have a couple of numbers that I wrote down. 14 children in critical condition. There was a lot of information that they gave here. And I got to tell you, from listening to this press conference and comparing it to others, they did give quite a bit of information. Again, the shooter is not, has no criminal history. And he fired all or most of the shots from the outside of this location. Let's listen to what this reporter says here. Oh, it's over. I'm just going to go back to. Hold on a second. I want to just go back to one of the local coverages.
Were injured. 14 of those were children. 2 we know right now are in critical condition. We also learned that shooter did take his own life.
Yeah, and what you're looking at right now is in front of the school, and we at first weren't sure, did this happen at the school, did this happen at the church? We now know that this happened during Mass, and Mayor Jacob Frey, something he said that really was pretty powerful. He said, don't say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. Mm-hmm. And just a horrific image to think about as the chief was going through some of the details of what happened there this morning. About 8:30 this morning is when the first reports came in. I will say it was about 9:45 or so, a short time later, when we did see families starting to actually leave the school and retrieving their children and taking them home. So relatively.
Frey, I am the Minneapolis Police Chief. Earlier today, just before 8:30 a.m., our city experienced an unthinkable tragedy. Minneapolis police officers responded to a report of a shooting at a mass that was happening at the Annunciation Roman Catholic Church on the block behind me. This worship service was marking the first week of school for children that are attending the Annunciation Catholic School. During the Mass, a gunman approached on the outside, on the side of the building, and began firing a rifle through the church windows towards the children sitting in the pews at the Mass. Shooting through the windows, he struck children and worshipers that were inside the building. The shooter was armed with a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol. This was a deliberate act of violence against innocent children and other people worshiping. The sheer cruelty and cowardice of firing into a church full of children is absolutely incomprehensible. Police officers from the Minneapolis Police Department immediately responded, entered the church, and attempted to provide first aid and rescue some of the children that were hiding throughout the building, while other first responders came and EMS responded to rush victims to nearby hospitals. 2 young children, ages 8 and 10, were killed where they sat in the pews. Their parents have been notified. 17 other people were injured, 14 of them being children. 2 of those children are in critical condition. The coward who fired these shots ultimately took his own life in the rear of the church. Our hearts are broken for the families who have lost their children, for these young lives that are now fighting to recover, and for our entire community that has been so deeply traumatized by this senseless attack. We will stand together.
I want to stop it here just for a second, folks. Did anybody find it chilling, but yet appropriate at the same time when he talked about this incident happening? The church bells were ringing in the background. I don't know if anybody caught it, but I'm listening with the earbud and I heard it, and it actually made the hair on my arm stand up. I'm getting sick and tired of reporting on this stuff. It's just sickening.
To protect our children, our schools, and our houses of worship. This deliberate act of violence is just a sign of cruelty that is beyond comprehension. Our hearts are broken for everyone that's been affected by this tragedy. As we begin the difficult path of healing, I want the community to know this, that even in the face of such evil, the Minneapolis Police Department and all of our law enforcement partners stand with our community. We stand with these families and with this parish. We will continue to be here for you. With that, the investigation is obviously in its preliminary stages, and I will attempt to take some questions to provide further information.
Chief, what can you tell us about the suspect in this case? How old was he? Any kind of motivation? Any notes or any other information you might have left behind?
So we were looking, the question was, what can be said about the shooter? We believe it is one suspect, a sole shooter. We believe he is deceased. He is in his early 20s, does not have an extensive known criminal history. And we are looking through information left behind to try and determine some type of motive. Yeah. How many children? There were, I don't have an exact, the question was how many children at the school? There were dozens of children inside the Mass at the time. I don't have an exact count. The children have been relocated into the school, which is where their families are reunifying with them.
Other than the weapon, shooter, a student, former student, was he a former employee? Do we know that?
The question was, do we know if the shooter was a former school employee or a former student? We don't have that information.
Did you leave anything behind other than the weapon?
There's a vehicle. The question was anything left behind? There's a vehicle that we believe that the suspect used that is being searched, and we will be conducting other searches related to this. Inside the parking lot.
There was some neighbors who said that the door to the church had been barricaded.
Yep.
Is that correct?
So the question was, neighbors had said that the door to the church had been barricaded. The shooter approached on one side of the church building, and on that side, at least two doors, it appears there had been like a 2x4 placed. So not all of the doors around the building, but on the side where the shooter did fire.
And on the outside.
On the outside, yes.
Shooting related.
The question was there any explosives? There were reports of that. There were no explosives or improvised devices that we found. I do believe there was one, I guess you would call it a smoke bomb, like not an explosive, but a sort of a firework that would release smoke.
Which side of the building? North, south?
The side that is closest to us, here, on this side. Yep.
Incident related? So at the nearby home?
I don't have specific information on that I can release.
Gunshot wound, the suspect?
Yeah, the question was, is he dead from a gunshot wound? The answer is yes. We believe he took his own life in the parking lot.
Was it outside or both inside that he was shooting?
The question was he shooting outside and inside? He was absolutely shooting outside of the building on the side of the church, inside through the windows. It appears he may have gone inside, but I don't believe we've located any casings inside the building. So I'm not certain if he fired also while inside. It appears, if not all, most of the shooting happened outside the building.
Okay, so I stand corrected. In earlier on, now I'm listening to it a second time, the chief said he shot himself outside in the parking lot. And he also had a smoke grenade, which is just something that you would throw out so people can't see. It initially might make a little flashbang, but it's something that you would throw to kind of shield your identity. It makes thick smoke really quickly.
Shooting related to any other shootings that happened in the last 24 hours?
Yeah, Taylor's asking, is this related to any of the other shootings? This does not appear to be related to any other shooting in the city.
You know how many rounds were fired?
The question was how many rounds? I would say it's in the dozens. We don't have an exact count. There's a sidewalk on the outside as well as a grassy area. So obviously we are going through and taking our time to process the scene.
Was he firing just one weapon, like the rifle, or?
The question was he firing one weapon? We believe he had fired all three. He had a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol. Were the weapons, was he lawfully carrying the weapons? I don't have that information. And I don't have any information on any significant criminal history either.
Was he dressed at all in any tactical type of gear or anything?
It appeared he had some black clothing on, his cargo type pants. I guess you could interpret that as, however you like.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for helping us to get the information out today. We have a lot
No more
work
questions?
that needs to be done. We will return back later today to provide more details as they become available, and we'll let you know.
All right, I'm going to fast forward. I'm going to fast forward to the press conference at the hospital. It looks like there's a doctor outside the hospital talking. So let's fast forward to that. That was a press conference from the police chief and the mayor of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And now we'll go straight to the hospital for an update from hospital staff.
Happened, and I'm getting a little emotional about it because, I saw so many people. 4 of them required the operating room at this thing. I saw another random man just kind of walk up here and dump a
All right, here we go, folks.
Water. I'll get more to you on that a little bit later because I know we got one more thing to.
6 a.m. this morning. That gave us time to mobilize all of our resources and prepare our teams. We are a level 1 trauma center, and we prepare and we train for this. Having said that these incidents are never easy. We've had 2 in the last 24 hours that have occurred, these mass casualty incidents. The one today, we received a total of 11 patients from this incident. 2 of them were adult patients, 9 pediatric patients. 4 of them required the operating room. And up to this point in time, there have been no fatalities related to any of those patients that were brought to our organization. I want to take a moment to tell you how proud I am to work for this organization and the teams that were involved, the resources, again, that were mobilized, our surgical colleagues, our medicine colleagues, our amazing nursing staff, our psychologists that help process these events for us, environmental services, all those involved. Hennepin EMS brought in all the critical patients from that scene to our organization, and we were very lucky to have 2 emergency medicine, emergency medical services directors that were on scene and able to provide us with really important information that, again, helped us to prepare for this event. So I don't have any individual or specific information about the patients at this time for you, so that's all I can share. Thank you for being here. Any questions?
You said they were in critical condition?
7 were brought in as critical patients, and at this time, I don't know the updates on what the conditions are of many of them. 4 of them required the operating room, as I said. There were, again, 9 of the 11 patients were pediatric ages. I can't remember the exact ages. I believe it's 6 all the way up to 14. That's the range.
Can you tell us a little bit about what types of teams you had working this morning, how many people it takes to treat a like that?
Yeah, you know, whenever that type of a page goes out, again, it really puts into motion a lot of big response from all of the teams. And so because we're a level 1 trauma center, we have to, mobilize certain types of resources like, operating rooms and the surgical services. We have to have emergency providers and nurses. We have to, mobilize things like the laboratory and the blood bank. So there's a lot of planning, and again, a lot of exercises we do throughout the year to prepare for these events. And unfortunately, we respond to many of them throughout the year.
Can you talk about the injuries at all, or any type of what you're seeing here with some of these patients?
I can't get into specifics, but we are dealing with gunshot wound injuries from apparently a high-velocity weapon. And, gunshot wounds can be very problematic because they can involve multiple body systems. And again, they require a lot of resources to manage. But again, we see a lot of gunshot wounds here at Hennepin Healthcare, and we're among the best in the nation every year at managing penetrating trauma. So we are used to seeing them.
Where's the status of the 11? Are any of them still in surgery?
I don't know the status of that. I can't share that with you at this time.
Was anyone shot more than once?
I can't share that information with you at this time.
Even from the families of some of the victims that made their way here?
Yeah, we've had quite a bit of effort to stand up a reunification center across the street here at our clinical specialty care building. And so to my knowledge, I believe all or almost all of the families and loved ones have been reunited with patients and know their status.
Do you know if anyone is being treated at any other locations?
My understanding was we had a lot of the non-critical patients that went to Children's Hospital, and I believe one went to Masonic Children's Hospital as well. I don't know the status of any of those patients.
Can you speak to the toll it takes on efficiency or perhaps to handle these types of cases that handle the case within hours?
Yeah, it does take a toll. Thank you for asking that. Asking that question. I think again, we have psychologists that we have dedicated to our emergency department to help with our providers and our nurses and other workers that manage these types of events. Again, we've had 2 mass casualty events happen in the last 24 hours. I mean, that does take a toll. But we also have to recognize that we are here as a critical resource for our community, and we have to take time to process, the care that we deliver in these situations, and we have to be able to move forward because we are obviously needed.
And none of those patients have been discharged?
Not to my knowledge.
You said there were 11 total, and 9 of them were pediatrics ages 6 to 14, the 7 were in critical condition. Are all of those that are pediatric, those 6 to 14, are all of those in critical condition, or the ones that are older also in critical condition?
I don't want to misspeak here. I believe that all of the pediatric patients were the ones that were in a critical condition. Yes.
Did I get my numbers right?
You did.
Can you give us your
specific title one more time, Dr.
Thomas Wyatt, yeah, Chair of Emergency Medicine at Hennepin Healthcare.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Check out our newsroom too, because I will be posting the exact information on the patients.
Children 6 to 14 at HCMC right now being treated, and obviously such a fluid situation. 7 brought in as critical.
All right, so I'm just going to recap real quick, guys, as I wrap up. I want to just thank everybody for being here in this live coverage. Again, 2 mass casualty events in 24 hours in this state. This doctor, as he just described, Dr. Thomas Wyatt, at the Hennepin Healthcare HCMC, treating multiple children at this time. I know I have Ed Wallace in the green room, so I'll add Ed in. Ed, I know you have a lot to say about school shootings. You wrote articles on it in many years in the past, and here we are again today. Multiple casualties, gunman as a coward took his own life. Ed, thanks for joining.
Yeah, my heart goes out to the families and the victims and the community over there. Again, another senseless act of barbarism and stupidity. We don't have all the details. They're slowly coming in. As we know, he attacked the church from the outside of the church, shooting through the windows and the walls and so forth. And it's getting to the point now. What do we have to do? Put ballistic glass in churches now, and create ballistic walls and panic doors and so forth in our houses of worship? It's just getting crazy. We got to, there's going to be a deep dive on this guy to figure out what was going on in this guy's world.
Yeah, and the chief said, Ed, at the press conference, that the shooter is in his early 20s. He had a smoke bomb, 3 weapons, a long rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol. We don't know what type of rifle it was, whether it was an AR-style rifle. We're just assuming. He fired all 3 of the weapons, Ed, and I have the chief's press conference playing in the background, no audio. 2 casualties, but 14 children are critically injured. 2 have been killed by this coward. And again, we don't know what the motivation is. We don't know what his race or what background he has. There's a lot of people speculating in the chat, but the only thing that we could say is that we've said this time and time again. The thoughts and prayers. Of course, people want to give thoughts and prayers, but it doesn't do anything to help the situation. The only way that this situation is going to we'll never be able to eliminate it, but the only way we could reduce it is by shoring up all of the houses of worship and, more importantly, the schools. Because these kids, they gathered at 8:15 for a mass, and this shooting happened at 8:30. So this kid knew, this shooter knew that there would be children in that church, and he went right at it with multiple weapons.
Ironically, this whole week, I'm doing Homeland Security training for the NYPD at the NYPD Counterterrorism Division. And I'm teaching a course called Site Protection Through Observational Techniques. And it deals with all these issues. In fact, when I open up the course, I show a video of a school shooting. And the purpose of the video is to show everybody that prior to the school shooting, there are always signs that can be observed of planning for the school shooting. Okay, and you'll find in many of these school shooting cases, or in this case, a house of worship shooting, that these people have a manifesto and they've posted stuff on social media prior to the attack, that could easily be dismissed if not looked at carefully. And there are always signs that there's preparation in the works for an attack like this, and comments that are being made. And it's not just school shootings and terrorist attacks, and it's also crimes. It's also suicides, where there are these telltale signs of the pending incident that's about to occur. And I'm guessing dollars to donuts when they do the background investigation on this. We're going to find such things, and he may have had some association with this school.
Yeah, and the problem is a lot of times people do see these telltale signs, and they just kind of like brush it off and say, well, he'll get better or she'll get better, and just kind of brush it off. And it's almost like if you see something that's out of line, you got to have a plan of action. You got to take action. You can't just let it be. And sometimes, unfortunately, this is the results of letting it be and just leaving it alone.
It's like that kid that shot up the Buffalo supermarket, a while ago. He was on Discord and he published, a 400+ page manifesto of what he's been thinking and what he was planning in the attack. And many people read this and never reported it to the police. So it goes back to see something, say something, or hear something, say something. You can't sit on these things in this day and age.
Right. And it never hurts if you see something and it doesn't pan out to be anything, but at least you made that, you make that step. Right. And a lot of people say that, right, exactly. A lot of people say in their minds, oh, I don't want to bother the police, or they're not going to listen to me, or whatever. If you take a step, at least you could say, hey, I tried to do something. But in these instances, we have such small amount of information and a tremendous amount of speculation. And then, people are going into religion, they're, taking it to politics. But at the end of the day, our children are our future, and we have to make sure that they're safe, whether it's, young children like this, or, high school students, or students going to college. This church, from my understanding, is attached to the school, Ed, so they can walk through into the church from the school. So I would imagine in my mind that the kids scattered back into the school, and that's how a lot of them were able to survive. Otherwise, there could have been many, many more casualties if the kids just stayed in place. So it's just my speculation.
This hit close to home to me because I put my two boys through Catholic school, and their school had the same thing. They had a church attached to the school, and they would go to mass every morning. Right. This could have happened there too. But it's just, we got to see what's in the mind of this individual, because, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say, there's some kind of mental illness going on here.
Yeah, more times than not, it comes right back to mental illness. It circles right back to it, and we'll hear more in the hours, the days to come. But again, prayers to the victims' families that are left now to, watch this, on TV and so forth. So, praying for those families affected, the children that are in serious condition that are in the hospital. We pray that the doctors are able to save, and we don't hear about any more casualties. And our takeaway is there's a time and place for discussions. Now is not the time or place. I do feel like, we should do a show in the future to, highlight how to keep yourself safe in these situations. Because I see, Ed, a lot of people in the chat are asking, hey, I have 2 young kids. I send them to school. What advice can you give me? And I think that there would be, maybe we'll do it for the members, and we'll make it public as well. Make a safety live stream or uploaded video. What's your thoughts on that, Ed?
Well, yeah, I just recently got a phone call and a text message and emails from a friend who's got a child going to school and wanted a recommendation on a ballistic backpack for the child to protect the child.
Yeah.
So there's several of them that are out there, and I know of a few of them, and I sent their link to look at these ballistic backpacks. She's willing to burden the expense of that for some peace of mind that, this could potentially save her child's life, because it's becoming that prevalent now.
Yeah, and you look at some of the high velocity rifle. What he was carrying was a shotgun and an unknown caliber rifle. Some of these backpacks, I don't know if they're even rated to stop those kind of rounds from high velocity rifle, but I'm sure that they do make them. Listen, it's a good story. Yeah, they are. But then there's
but it's a sad commentary on our society that it has to come to this. We have to deal with these mental illness issues. Now, that's not to say, don't take me wrong now, just because somebody may be suffering some mental illness doesn't mean they're automatically going to become a mass shooter. Okay. There are many people that are mentally ill and can distinguish between right and wrong. I'm not making an excuse for the shooter that they didn't know right from wrong. Okay. But, in my opinion, in what I've seen in my career, you say to yourself, when you go to these horrific quadruple homicides or whatever the case, there's something wrong with this individual that they can do this. Okay.
Right.
That they have no conscience. And there's nothing stopping them, nothing telling them, hey, don't do this in their brain. Yeah. And it's not wired correctly that, it's whether it's just, your standard everyday crimes that are being committed or something horrific like this.
Yeah, correct, Ed. And the debate over the guns and the laws are made to be broken, even if the strictest of strict gun laws go into effect. This guy got it. This young 20-some-odd-year-old, he said the chief said he's in his 20s, got into a car and intentionally drove to that church to commit mass murder. And whatever his mindset was, we don't know, because now he took his life. But if he does have a manifesto or some writings online, we'll hear about that as well. Wouldn't surprise me. But, for the families that can't afford $500 to $1,000 for a ballistic backpack, they're looking for easy ways to educate their children. And then that's a whole nother issue. How do you talk to an 8 or a 10-year-old or younger about this stuff? It'll instill fear in them. And that's not the idea. You don't want to send your kids to school in fear of getting killed. But unfortunately, this is the society we live in, and it's a sad but true.
But schools school boards and schools in and of itself have to make the commitment to protect our most precious commodities, and that's our children. Okay, they should be budgeting for this and getting monies from the federal government. There are grants that school boards can get to harden their schools from such attacks and things of this nature. And they need to avail themselves of this. Plus, they have to take it on their own jurisdiction to fund these types of things. If the school should have the same security, and it's sad to say that a courthouse has.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or the Capitol. So, and because I feel these kids are more important actually than some of our elected officials.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. Our children are our future. It sounds like a cliche, but it's so true. That we need to keep our children safe. We don't send them to school to get killed. You send them to school to learn. I'm going to end it on that because I'm at work. I got to go. I know you're driving. Ed, I want to thank you for taking out the time. You not only text me, but he called me when I didn't respond to him because I was paying attention to everything going on around me. So thank you, Ed. It shows the dedication that you have to our community. And for those of you that are out there that are looking for tips, safety tips, send us an email, send us a message on DutyRon.com. Ed, thanks again for your input here, and thanks to all the live chatters, the replay viewers, folks who became members and super chatted during and after. We will follow this closely and we'll keep you updated. Ed, any final thoughts?
Just prayers for everybody involved here in that community, and hopefully we can learn what was in the mind of this shooter, and you know, and then act accordingly. You know, that's the whole point of after action reports and investigations, is to find out why people do the things they do, and then what can we do to stop this or mitigate it.
Yeah, mitigate it. That's for sure. It's gonna be hard to make 100% stoppage of this, but we definitely can.
That's never going to happen.
Yeah, we could definitely take measures to shore up our schools and keep our kids safe. Again, like you said, these children are our future, and they are more important than some of these people up up on Capitol Hill, and in these courthouses. If they can keep guns and all these other things out of these courthouses, there should be a way for us to be able to keep guns out of the schools and out of our churches and institutions of prayer. So, all right, Ed, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I'm going to leave you full screen, and we will see you on the next live stream. This has been a new special news, breaking news from Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace on yet another shooting in a school and in a church that was attached to a school in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Thank you all for watching, and God bless everybody.